do we get back on track? So I'd like to talk about that topic. It's not just addressed to those who have been derailed with their progress, but it's kind of for everyone, because at some point, even for me, at some point in our guitar journey, we experience that feeling. We feel like we don't know what to practice, how to practice, and we feel kind of lost. Even with my guitar friends, we talk about that, like our practice routine seems to be repetitive, and how do we break free from that? And yeah, so it happens to all of us, and I just like to talk about it because I think it's important. With that being said, how do we get back on track? I like to focus on the idea of using the basics and simplifying our mind, how we approach the guitar, as a tool for us to use to help us get back on track. And it's important to note that it's just there to help us, because you still have to do the work. Because when we try to play the guitar again, especially if we spend time away from the instrument, or we just feel lost, we're constantly trying to play but never getting anywhere with it. Like we're just mindlessly noodling around without any direction. Sometimes when we think about the guitar, it can be overwhelming, and but rightfully so, because like the guitar is very broad, and there's so many things you can choose to tackle in terms with your goals. Like if you think about it, there's like chords, there's scales, and in the skill area there's like alternate picking, and you ask yourself, what about economy picking and legato? So it can be overwhelming, and what usually happens is that we get overwhelmed and paralysis by analysis. So that's why it's so important to like take a step back and go back to the basics. And a very good example that I can think of is when just recently I was trying to learn a Dream Theater song, and learning Metropolis, and there's an alternate picking run there that goes something like that. And a good example of going back to the basics is when I started to learn this again, I wasn't able to do it like I used to when I was young. And I had to go back to a tempo where it was comfortable for me, and like really playing that slow in order for me to like really address the issues. Because sometimes when we haven't played something in a while and we try to get back at it, we find that like certain small intricacies with our muscles and how we pick will not go as planned. So there might be some upstrokes that you won't be able to pick well, or the synchronicity of your hand, left and right hand. So it's very important to slow down and slowly build your way back up. And one of the things when you try to do that with yourself, when you tell yourself to go back to the basics, is you encounter yourself as an enemy with or for progress, in the form of pride. Because what usually happens is when you tell yourself that we need to go back to like around 60 BPM, your pride will say, why would I go back to 60 BPM when I could play this at 120 or 160 BPM 5 years ago? And you have to be honest with yourself and tell yourself that, okay, na banga na ko ron, natayaan ko. I'm not the guitar player that I used to be, and that's okay, because you need to work on yourself again. So swallow your pride, be honest with the weaknesses that you have, and and be kind to yourself, because you've been away from the instrument, or you got derailed and you're trying to get back at it. You're trying to get back on track. So it's normal to have those like thoughts and feelings. So it's normal to be sloppy with your technique, but at the same time you have to be honest that, okay, I'm not at this level yet, and I need to take a step back. And if you need to go back to this speed to address certain weak points, then there's absolutely no shame in that. And I like to make an analogy with video games, gaming, Diablo 2. So if you haven't played Diablo 2, I'm not sure what to tell you. But I played Diablo 2, and there's like 3 difficulty levels when you play it. So there's normal, nightmare, and hell. And when you play normal, it's usually very easy and you don't die. You can complete that difficulty level with ease. And you get to nightmare, you play it again, but it's more challenging this time, and you die once or twice, I guess. And then comes hell, wherein you die a lot of times, and if you're not ready, you're not in the right level to play hell, you're gonna die all the time. And it's what ends up happening is you're gonna get discouraged. So the same thing with the guitar. If you constantly try to play something that you're not ready for, like, and let's say you're not able to play it well, you're not at that level. So let's say you're not happy with that result, and constantly trying to do that over and over again and constantly failing will just result into discouragement. So you need to go back to nightmare difficulty, or normal if you have to level up. So the thing there is you need to be able to work on a level that you're comfortable with, that you're not constantly dying and end up discouraged. So absolutely fine to slow down and work on a level that you enjoy, by the way. So it's so important that you're enjoying what you're doing, because if you're not enjoying, then what's the point? So and going back to 60 BPM, or personally, I love to do that. I love going back to a slow tempo and working on my weaknesses, and slowly I usually increase the tempo by 5 BPM. So if I start with 60, I do whatever I'm playing, and I add 5 BPM, so 65 BPM, and I do it again, 70, and whatever your goal is, you may not be able to. Let's say your goal is 120 BPM, and for the first practice session, you might be able to reach 100 BPM. So, and that's fine. You can do it again tomorrow, and maybe the next day you can reach 110 BPM, and slowly work your way up. Slow progress is real progress. So don't be afraid to go back to the basics, and go back to a level that you're comfortable with, and slowly level up, and eventually you'll be ready for hell. So with that being said, I'd like to share my experience with this, because a few years ago I was experiencing some mental and emotional problems, and which caused me to be away from the instrument, or not play the guitar as much. And last year, Stallions of the Burning Church, we reunited, and we played a few gigs. To be honest, I wasn't really the top of my game in terms of shredding, and because I was away from the instrument. I need to like work on myself, and it was fine. I tried my best, and early this year we had a gig. I think there was Prog Power, and I just told myself that. So the same thing with being honest with yourself. I was just being honest, and told myself that I'm not at the same level that I used to be, and I said that okay, for this gig, the January gig this year, I'm just gonna play the pentatonic scale for my solos, and I just focus on the pentatonic scale because to be honest, I wasn't really ready for all the other scales that I was able to play or that I used to play back then, and all the skill, it just wasn't there. I was still working on it, and very interesting. What happened is that because I only played the pentatonic scale for all the solos, like Duel with the Devil. So if there's any tip I could give you if you wanna like play guitar solos, very basic tip is 15th fret, B string, pentatonic scale, bend, wah. So all the songs, it's very funny. And even for like, we have a song called Thorns. This guitar solo was the same thing, and for all the solos, I played the same thing. And very interesting, it didn't sound boring. It didn't sound, even though I was doing repetitive licks. And that's the cool thing about it. The basics work. The basic pentatonic scale, the basic approach. They are very effective, and at least for that style of music, anyway. And what happened with how I thought about that gig and my decision to like think about only the pentatonic scale was that I freed myself from the burden of thinking about all those other things, like all the other scales that we can use and all the techniques that you need to do for that gig. It wasn't there because I don't need to. That's all I did for the entire gig, for all the songs, for all the solos of the songs. That's all I did, and I like to do another analogy. Rock Lee from Naruto. So if you don't know who Rock Lee is or Naruto, then again, I don't know what to tell you. But so Rock Lee doesn't know. So I'm assuming that you know Naruto, no? So he doesn't have ninjutsu or genjutsu. He only does taijutsu. And Guy Sensei said that everybody thinks that he's at a disadvantage because he only uses taijutsu, but in reality, because he can only do taijutsu, he poured all his energy and focus to that, and he became a taijutsu specialist. So I'd like to think that me thinking that approaching the gig with just the pentatonic scale freed me from all that worry and all that mental clutter in your head, and I just focused on the pentatonic scale. So in a way, you could say, or I'd like to think that pentatonic specialist ko. And yeah, so because I didn't bother myself with the other scales, and wait, so I didn't bother myself with other scales, and I just focused on the pentatonic scale. I poured all my energy to that, and approached the pentatonic scale with a killer instinct. So repetitive but effective. The basics. Basics, simplify. Simplify, do not complicate. So that's how we get back on track, or at least from my experience. And because of that, the irony with that is, because you're being honest with yourself and being you swallowed your pride, you told yourself, okay, I'm going to take a step back, or 10 steps back. Because you addressed your weaknesses, you have a better chance of progressing and going back to the place where you once were, if that was a place that you desired to be in. And you have a much better chance to make better progress, compared to just constantly trying to do what you've thought you've always done because you were able to do it like 5 years ago, and you're not the same guitarist as you were then, and constantly failing without building like the foundation. You're gonna end up being discouraged and just mindlessly noodling around and without any direction. So it's very important to be honest with yourself. Work on a level that you enjoy, that you can do, that you can manage. Don't go to hell difficulty right away without leveling up. There's no shame in going back to a level where a difficulty level where your character level suits that level. And address your weaknesses, simplify, do not complicate, and eventually you will be able to get back on track. And going back on track is the most important thing, because once you're back on track, it doesn't matter how slow or fast you progress. What matters is you know where you're heading, and that's all that matters. It's the journey, and we're always in a constant journey. There's no destination. The destination is a paradox, because once you get to a certain destination, you assign yourself with another new destination or a new goal. So I hope that makes sense. That's it for now. Happy shredding. So simplify, don't complicate.